Voor het vierde jaar op rij is Algerije hoger op de ranglijst christenvervolging van Open Doors komen te staan en heeft nu plek 15 bereikt. Wetten over niet-islamitische erediensten, controle op social media en intimidatie wordt gebruikt om christenen in het land te ontmoedigen. In de studio Youssef Ourahmane, voorganger en vicepresident van de protestantse kerk van Algerije. Good evening and welcome to our show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Can you tell me what life is like being a Christian in Algeria?
Well, actually, at the moment, it has not been easy since 2018, when the Algerian government started to come very strong against the Algerian Christians, especially the churches. And we have had most of our churches are now closed and sealed by the authorities. So a lot of Christians, they have been, lost somehow, because the building was a part of their faith. It is about part of their identity as a Christian. Now the building is lost, it's closed. So we have had a lot of Christians really are struggling to survive. And beside that, of course, as maybe you know, we have had many court cases, 50 court cases, a lot of imprisonment, a lot of fine.
Yeah, well, we'll dive into that later, but this is the fourth year that Algeria has climbed up the list of open doors when it comes to Christian persecution. Does that surprise you?
No, actually I was expecting worse than that really today, because this is the reality that we are living in. And I think, of course, the Christians or Algerian government is one of the government who persecute very tough and harshly the Christians in Algeria. So being on, I think, in 17 today, or 15? 15. Well, that's not bad, but maybe if you follow a bit of the politics, Antony Blinken, the American secretary, made a very strong statement against the Algerian government with the lack of freedom of religion there.
Yeah. So what kind of persecution do you see around?
Well, there are many things actually. One of the goal of the Algerian government, because for them it's a big shame to have thousands and tens of thousands of Muslims becoming Christians, but also very active and very structured and very bold. So for them it was a big shame, of course, and they wanted by all means to stop what is happening, making the church weak, fragile, and somehow they think this is how we're going to disappear, but they are completely wrong. So we have been facing many challenges, because the government has refused to renew our license, the Algerian Protestant Church Association license that has been granted to us back in 1974.
Yeah.
So since 2014, they refused to renew it. And all what we do, our existence in Algeria is illegal. So this is why they find the argument that they come to stop us, interrogate us, and close down our churches.
And I believe in 2006 there has been a law that is at the source of all this persecution.
That's
Can you explain a little bit about that law?
Well, before that, before March 2006, there was no law to condemn the Christians. You can evangelize, you can do whatever you want, but there's no law to condemn you. So they came up with this new law, and they said to us, this law is to organize the non-Muslim worship. Yeah. But the main thing actually is to persecute the Christians. For example, in the same article, in the same document, is Article 8, 9, and 10, and 11, they said you cannot shake the faith of the Muslim. What does it mean, shaking the faith of the Muslim?
Can you give an example?
Well, you cannot evangelize, talk about Jesus. You cannot give them anything to read about other religions, especially, of course, Christianity. You cannot do anything good. If you find a Muslim who is sick or is hungry and you help them, and he can report it to the police, they will tell you have been trying to shake his faith.
So they report each other sometimes.
Well, I mean, we have had cases that have been reported, and this is why if you evangelize, you have been trying to shake the faith of the Muslims. What are the consequences?
Yeah,
if you are a church leader, you can end up in prison between 1 till 5 years. With a fine can go up to about $7,000. And if you are a church member, between 1 to 3 years. And we have had court cases, we have people who has been sentenced because of this law. That actually is the source of all our problems at the moment. But beside that, they said, yes, they are going to create, or they're supposed to create, a national committee that is going to grant us the license, to be able to worship. But this committee has never existed, and they always, they refuse to renew our license because all the time they find some kind of excuses. That is the source of our main persecution.
Yeah, and so in 2018, the Algerian government decided to close the churches.
Yes, started in January 2018, and they closed 3 churches in the west, which we planted actually. And then with huge pressure from the American embassy and the American government, so they reopened them again in July, but that was the beginning of the plan. And now afterwards, of course, 2019, when they started, they became very strong and started to close all the churches, including the largest or the 4th largest church in the Arab world, in the Middle East. It's called the Tizi Gospel Church, which has about 1,200 members. About 900 goes and worship there every weekend.
Yeah.
That also has been closed.
So where do the Christians go to
Well, that's
church
a challenge, actually, because we were not prepared for this persecution. I thought it would never happen. I've been Christian now for 43 years, and now a lot of the Algerians have been working there for 35 years. We were not prepared. This is the biggest mistake we have done. We were not prepared spiritually, structurally, and organizingly as well. And we have had, of course, people that weren't prepared to have to open their homes and having church services, having at least, house groups. And also we were very closely watched by the authorities. So it has not been easy. One thing that has really helped us at the moment is what you call the social media. Because there are a lot of programs, a lot of teaching, a lot of materials in Facebook, in YouTube, in the internet.
So that keeps their faith
It helps.
alive. We'll go to social media later, because first I would like to talk about you. You already said it's been 41 years since you became a Christian. 43 years. But you've been born as a conservative Muslim.
That's all right.
So what was it like?
Well, actually, I was born in a very conservative Muslim home, and my mother tongue is Arabic. So when I used to memorize the Quran or pray as a Muslim, I understood very well. So it's not like the Kabyle, the Berbers, etc. I was taught in my childhood, in the schools, in my family, in my society, that there is no hope for Christians or for any other religions, because when they die, you go to hell. And the only people who are going to be judged at the end, the end time, are the Muslims, because we were what they were the chosen people.
Yeah. So when did you hear the gospel then?
Well, I heard the gospel back in 1977. I was visiting my brother in Sweden, who passed away, and for me it was the first time to meet a young group of Christians. And actually, they were the only one who came to talk to me and wanted to talk to me about their faith. So I was quite amazed when they invited me to their home, and they didn't smoke, they don't get drunk, they don't go out on the nightclubs on the weekends, and they were very, very strange for me. They are Westerners, they are Swedish, but they are different than the others. And they explained to me exactly what does it mean to be a born-again Christian.
Yeah.
That was my first encounter with Christianity, and I realized all what I have heard, what I have learned in my childhood was wrong.
So when did you came to Christ?
Well, I started to read the Bible for myself. And of course, my conclusion after 3 years that Jesus is unique. He's not the same Jesus like in the Quran. He's totally different in his life, in his teaching, in his miracles, and everything. But to decide wasn't easy, because I grew up to believe that the Bible was falsified, Jesus has never been crucified, he cannot be the Son of God, Muhammad is the last prophet, and all these questions I have had, battling. But also, the biggest consequences is what my family will say.
Yes.
And my friends.
How did they respond?
Well, because in Algeria, like in the Middle East, we thinker. We don't decide for ourselves, we decide for the whole family. But anyhow, I came to the conclusion, well, this is my life. I am the one who's going to face God one day. It's not my family.
Yeah.
So I decided to follow Jesus back in March or April 1980. And I told my family straight away. And they thought maybe he's a young guy,
They thought it would.
like a fashion, like he's going to pass by this. But then 5 years, 6 years, and
did they see the change in you?
They see a lot of changes. And actually, I went to do my military service back in 1985 in Algerije, and I spent 3 months discussing with them, literally 3 months, non-stop, morning, evening, afternoon. And they told me this is not Christianity. This is new religion you brought for us from Europe, and you're trying to spread it here in Algeria. Because they never knew what does it mean to pray, how to fast, how to love your enemies, how God can forgive your sins, how God can give you the insurance of your salvation. All was new for them.
Yeah.
But-
Did it change them?
Well, they respect me a lot because they have seen the changes.
Yeah.
And I try to convince them. They try to convince me, of course, to come back to Islam. But I thank God because I come from very intellectual family. We are educated, a
So
lot
there's overall respect for each
the
other.
open. I mean, we have had some kind of, rejection, but it was very little really. But now I have a wonderful relationship with my family. I have 11 brothers and sisters, by the way. And my mother had 18 pregnancies.
Wow.
So here you go.
So, okay. Well, let's go take a jump in time, because in the 90s, you've survived 2 attempts on your life by Muslim fundamentalists. Can you take us back to those moments?
Well, actually, it was a miracle how God has put his hand and protected all the Christians. I mean, we lived in a small village nearby the Oran city in the west. And one of our main builders who was building for us, the house of refuge, which was a safe house, he was one of the main terrorists in the village. We didn't know about him. But God, in his amazing, of course, there was a lot of prayer, and people prayed for us a lot. And I think he came twice to kill us. I wasn't there twice. Once we were in Morocco, once we were already in the UK, and God didn't allow it to happen.
You see God's protection.
Of course, yes. I mean, sometimes when I look back, I say, well, it's a miracle how God has kept us alive, because he has a purpose. I believe that our lives in his hands, our hairs are counted, none fall without his will. So there is no need to live in fear. But we have to live a normal life. God, he knows our best.
Yeah.
At the end, we are going to lose nothing.
So did it change your ways, or were you...
No, we moved to Oran City from that village, and we continued. And actually, God gave me a new vision. Really, this is. I mean, we operate with fasting and praying in Algeria. We don't operate whatever. And I spent about 52 days fasting and praying. God revealed to me his strategy, which is purely from the heaven. And actually, we founded what we call today the House of Hope Fellowship and Ministries. It's amazing how God has led us and what God has done. But we had to move, and because God has allowed this, we moved to Oran City, and we started a new vision, new work. That's still going on very strong.
Yeah. But you still are persecuted yourself. You've in 2023, you've been involved in a lawsuit and fined with a large sum of money. So you've experienced it for yourself. What was the reason that happened?
The first reason back, I think, 2008, I was sentenced for 3 years in prison, a big fine as well. And because someone accused me and 2 other brothers as well, that we have been blaspheming Muhammad with no proof, of course. And this is the first reason. But at the time, the law was not that strong. They wasn't really implemented very strongly. So because I'm a bit known overseas, and there was a huge pressure against the Argentine embassies all over Europe, etc. And they said, well, let us, get rid of this problem here. And I was acquitted. Yeah, so, but, I have been interrogated many, many times. I faced a lot of harassment at the airport, coming in or going out.
Can you explain a bit of how that happens? The interrogations?
If you haven't been interrogated by the police in Algeria, I will tell you, they want to know about your life from day one, since you were born till you are with them. And it's a long story. They want to know about your brothers, their children, what they do, etc., etc.
Yeah.
And then it comes to the end, almost, they ask you, why did you become Christian? How did you become Christian? That was my best, actually.
And that's also a time to share.
What I'm going to share with them.
Yeah.
And my sharing with my friends and my Muslim or my authorities, etc., I concentrate very much on Jesus. He is the one.
Yeah.
And, we have had amazing opportunities to witness to the police, witness to the court, witness to the judges, all of them. Amazing stories.
So this court case is still...
Well, the second one was when I was condemned for 2 years, in my absence, by the way. That was July last year.
Because you were condemned in your absence, and now you are here. So how does that work?
No, well, I appealed. I appealed on 19th of November, and 1 year was reduced. So I have 1 year still, and about 700 or 750 euros to pay. But then I appealed. My next hearing will be in March or April, and hopefully, they will acquit me. But otherwise, I have another chance to appeal to the Supreme Court. But we are used to this, I'm not the
another
only
chance
one.
to testify.
Yes.
Well, you spoke a little bit about social media. The government is also using social media to monitor Christians. What are they searching for when they do that?
For Algeria, the Algerian government, anything that shake the faith of the Muslim, according to the ordinances of March 2006, you are against the law. So when they are caught that you are doing this to preach the gospel to the Muslims, you will be in trouble. Before I came here, one of my brothers he came to see me, I had to talk to him. They went to his home, confiscated all his equipment, camera, just imagine coming here, confiscating all your stuff here, laptop, telephone, etc., because he was doing some program for Christians. And he spent 2 months in prison, actually, and had another year, suspended 1 year. I have another people as well. They will confiscate everything. So for them, if you are doing social media, it means you are...
Yeah, they are actively targeting Christians that way.
Yes, but anyhow, where we were not afraid, we cannot stop, because a lot of programs are coming from France. Talk about Algerians as well, Arabs, from France, from Europe, from America. There is so much now on the internet. It's impossible to control.
And does it change the behavior when using social media?
In which way?
No, are you afraid to use it or to search?
No, we have to be careful.
Things?
Of course, at this time we have to be careful. We in our programs we never talk about Muhammad or Islam or the government. We are pure gospel, pure Christianity. We still have a lot of programs going on today. We are producing many programs up to now. I don't think, one thing that I always say, that God has helped the Argentine church to overcome fear. We are not scared, we are not afraid, because we are doing nothing wrong. And we continue by grace, and nothing will happen without His will. So this is why I have to be afraid.
So it's also a good way to spread the gospel. And how do you use it then?
Well, IT is not my cup of tea. It's my biggest cross, actually. I don't know. But we have many young Christians, very smart. And now, of course, as I say, and the media, and the social media like Facebook, YouTube, you name it, a lot of programs. A lot of Algerian Christians that they have shared their stories, their testimonies, many of them. So you cannot escape. I was amazed to hear a story of an imam who came to faith through the social media. Nobody talked to him.
Can you share that
Well,
example?
he was preparing his message for Friday prayer in the mosque, and suddenly, he came to a word that he couldn't understand. He had to find the explanation. And the Holy Spirit led him to this Christian Coptic churches websites, and then he went to the evangelical, websites, and then he was hooked.
Wow.
And finally, he realized, after, of course, a lot of time, that Jesus is different. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And it was amazing. He came to faith. Nobody talked to him. And then he was looking, he searched for contact with Christians. Of course, they gave his number. And now we are following him up, and he's doing a wonderful job, actually. We have to pray hard that God now has removed him out of this work as an imam. He's teaching the Quran still, because,
It must feel conflicted.
Well, actually, he's not the one. He was the first one. I know 3 or 4 others as well. Come to faith. This is why I'm telling you, the social media is a big impact now.
Yeah, because
in Algeria.
Yeah, because the majority of people in Algeria is Muslim, but your country is considered to be one of the fastest growing church movements in the world. Can you explain that?
Well, among the Muslim, I think the Muslim world. God, in His amazing wisdom, He started a revival amongst the Kabyle, the Berber people. There are 9 million of them or more in the Kabyle area. And the Kabyles, from their childhood, they don't like Arabic, they don't like the Arabs, and they feel always foreigners when they have to memorize Quranic verses in Arabic to pray to Allah, to God. Didn't really fit in there. Suddenly, when the gospel came in a very powerful way back in July 1981, and they realized that God can relate to them and they can pray to him with their own language, their own tongue. And of course, it was a lot of signs and wonders and healing and a lot of prayer and fasting as well. This is why it spread very fast. And still, actually, we live in the Kabyle. The Kabyles are very tolerant. They are not, fanatic. You are Christian, you are Jew, you are whatever. Nobody cares for you, only in certain areas. But anyhow, I mean, I can tell about 60 to 80% of the Kabyle are supporting us, and they are not happy with the church being closed. But what can they do? So,
well, you are like 40 plus years working for the Lord. How would you describe your work?
Well, a lot of things I think I can describe. But at the moment, as you know, I am the vice president of the APA. So it's a big responsibility. And actually now, because of so many Christians, they have been suffering from persecution a lot. So I feel our role is to really be doing a lot of pastoral care, a lot of visits, a lot of help in all aspects. And also, we still do a lot of training through TV, through individuals as well. But also, one of my ministry that God has given to us is to advocate for the Algerian church. So I do a lot of advocacy. The Algerian government are not happy with that. But I do a lot, a very high level, not just... So this is, I feel, one of our ministry. But I think at the moment, the church and the believers in Algeria, they need a lot of pastoral care. So just our presence there give them some kind of...
I can imagine.
Peace.
You brought a book to show us.
Well, actually, this book, I show it to you here, is okay?
Yeah, you can show it to the camera.
Well, this is the book. It's called The Algerian Church Revival. It's available in Amazon. That's give a good documentation about the history of the church a little bit, the history of mission, and how the revival started back in 1981 in July. It's a credible story.
So if people want to know more,
if they want to know more, of course, you can go to Amazon and just Google Algerian Church Revival. My name is there, and you can pick up the book and read.
Good. What is your hope for the church in Algeria?
Well, my hope, I have a lot of hope, but my main hope that the believers will remain fast, steadfast, never give up, never get scared. My prayer is because of this persecution, with the house groups now everywhere, God is will arise many godly men and women, many pastors, many leaders, many Bible teachers, many evangelists. And then when the things change, all this fire will come back again. And I believe Jesus is the hope for Algeria and for every Muslim. That's my conviction.
Yeah, that's wonderful. How can our viewers help you or your work?
Well, I think prayer is the key. Sometimes I feel the Netherlands needs more prayer than Algeria.
Why do you say that?
Well, I have heard about the church here and the situation. But anyhow, I think prayer is the key, really. We need people to pray and mobilize people to pray. We need people who can advocate for the sake of the church in Algeria, or by all means. But also, I really believe that the church in the Netherlands, they have to realize that God has given to them a freedom to live as a Christian faith, but also they have to use this freedom to reach out to the Muslims in the community, where they live. But also, we have a lot of challenges, economic challenges, physical challenges. So we ask the people to pray as the Lord leads. But anyhow,
thank you.
Yes.
We will do that.
Thank you.
So thank you for sharing your story.
Welcome.
Thank you for coming to our studio and guiding people to the book if they want to know more.
Yes.
We will be praying for you, and I think you will be praying for our church.
Yes, I will. We will. Yes.
Thank you.